degrees Celsius. This is the goal of the Paris Climate Agreement, to keep the average global temperature from warming more than 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. It's been about 200 years since the Industrial Revolution. In that time, ever-increasing amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere have helped heat the Earth more than halfway to that point. Let's take a closer look at the last 100 years. From 1920 to 1980, the global temperatures climbed about 0.4 of a degree Celsius. After 1980, that pace more than doubled. In just 40 years, the temperatures have climbed another 0.7 of a degree. In 3 of the last 5 years, temperatures have crossed the 1.2 degree mark. Last year, we reached 1.27 degrees Celsius above late 19th century temperatures. We're dangerously accelerating toward that 2 degrees. And this is only a global average. Many locations around the planet have seen temperatures soar to much higher levels. Large parts of Europe, Greenland, Alaska, and Russia, including Siberia, have already surpassed 2 degrees. And up north, above the Arctic Circle, the warming is over 4 degrees. That extra heat concentrated in the Arctic, well, that's causing a massive melt of polar ice, and it's only getting worse. On average, 14,000 tons of water melt from the Arctic every second. That's more than 4 times the amount of water that goes over Niagara Falls each second. If we stay on our course over the last 10 years, the Earth could hit the 2 degree mark as soon as 2040, and possibly up to 3 degrees by 2060. Only a significant reduction in carbon dioxide emissions quickly will make the Paris goal a reality. Climate scientists say surpassing that milestone will result in more frequent deadly heat waves, drought, and wildfires, making large areas of our planet uninhabitable. And sea levels are, quote, very likely to rise a foot by the end of the century and could rise by even as much as 8 feet. That will likely make hurricanes more powerful, specifically unleashing flooding connected with dangerous storm surges, impacting hundreds of millions of people who live in coastal areas. Our road to 2 degrees is shortening. The time to act? Now.
Climate change. It's real, it's serious, and it's up to us to solve it. In the last 2 decades, we've experienced 14 of the hottest 15 years on record. By 2050, drought and chronic water shortages could impact 1 billion people, while millions more will be at risk from coastal flooding. It can seem overwhelming, but there's reason for hope. If we embrace solar and wind power to their full potential, we can cut the world's yearly carbon emissions by 1/3. Already, Germany generates 27% of its electricity from renewables, with a goal of 80% by 2050. Denmark has shown it can produce more wind energy than it can use, and England is building the world's biggest offshore wind farm. Communities large and small are taking steps. A new public building in Mexico City has an exterior that breaks down air pollutants, erasing the effects of 1,000 cars each day. Paris installed street tiles that harvest energy from foot traffic. Other cities are paving streets with smog-eating concrete and sidewalks with recycled materials. Individuals can make a difference too, through the choices we make every day. If every American driver drove 10 miles less each week, it could eliminate more than 100 billion pounds of carbon from the air each year. New innovations are making important strides possible, and more are on the way, but we can't wait. Reimagining our world's energy future will take a shared sense of urgency from countries, companies, cities, and all of us. Working together, real change is possible. Learn more at natgeo.com/climate.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to guide you through today's program. We'll start with a quick review of our Zoom etiquette, followed by the opening prayer and the Philippine national anthem. Please note that we are also streaming live on our GC official Facebook page. Makakalikasang araw po!
A prayer for our earth. All-powerful God, you are present in the whole universe and in the smallest of your creatures. You embrace with your tenderness all that exists. Pour out upon us the power of your love, that we may protect life and beauty. Fill us with peace, that we may live as brothers and sisters, harming no one. O God of the poor, help us to rescue the abandoned and forgotten of this earth, so precious in your eyes. Bring healing to our lives, that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction. Touch the hearts of those who look only for gain at the expense of the poor and the earth. Teach us to discover the worth of each thing, to be filled with awe and contemplation, to recognize that we are profoundly united with every creature as we journey towards your infinite light. We thank you for being with us each day. Encourage us, we pray, in our struggle for justice, love, and peace.
Bayang magiliw, dalas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisigit. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhatit pagsinta, buhay ang langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat. It's the third Friday of the month again. So welcome as usual to Kamayan para sa Kalikasan. This is a public forum for environmental education held every third Friday of the month since March 1990, or for an incredible 34 years now. This is our 410th episode, brought to you by Green Convergence for Safe Food, Healthy Environment, and Sustainable Economy, or GC for short. Today, we are going to talk about bikes and the ecological impacts of cycling. Invite your friends to join the conversation. We are currently live streaming at the Green Convergence Facebook page. A video recording will be uploaded later to the GC website and the GC YouTube channel. I am your moderator, Marie Marciano, a founding member and former vice president of GC, as well as a lifetime worker, advocate, and volunteer for various causes, particularly for environmental protection, justice, and human rights. Okay, I really don't like talking about me. I just feel obliged to introduce myself a little to newcomers here. So let's shift the spotlight to our very special co-moderator for today, who is someone with vast experience in advocacy work for clean air and solid waste management. She retired from Miriam College as Associate Director of the Environmental Studies Institute, or ESI. She has had trainings abroad, mainly on solid waste management in Australia, Germany, Vietnam, and Japan. She earned the moniker Basura Queen of Miriam College because of her pioneering work on its solid waste management program. She has been giving trainings all over the country on environmental education, sustainable development, clean air, and of course, solid waste management. Currently, the hardworking executive director of Green Convergence, she is none other than Maria Teresa Tessa Maramara Oliva. Hi, Tessa.
Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you, Marie, for that introduction. Okay, so we will have for our 410th, wow, episode, bamboo bikes,
Yeah.
e-bikes, and the urban bike ecosystem. But before we go there, maybe I'd like to say hello to the people who said that they were coming, and we have people from the academic institutions, from Cavite State University, Philippine Normal University, ASEAN Institute of Journalism and Communications, Central Mindanao University, Wonderful Grace Learning Center, Philippine National University, Philippine Normal University, I'm sorry, LaSalle and LaSalle Life, okay, St. Louis University, Miriam College, of course, Institute of Spirituality Asia, St. Dominic College of Asia, Bulacan State University. All right. And we also have from the religious sector, Senecal, Daughters of Charity, from government, Danao City Government, CPDO of Angeles, someone from Philippine Army, and from the NGOs, we have Angat Kalikasan, Katutubo Pilipinas, Sustainability and Climate Change Action, Balagbag Environmental Society, Mother Earth Foundation, Green Convergence, of course, and from the private sector, Mega World Hotels and Resorts, Roja Specialties, Royal Caribbean Institute. Okay, so
Wow.
we are from different sectors, and we look forward to an engaging discussion on our topic. Okay, because through this 410th webinar, Green Convergence provides a stimulating discussion on how the use of eco-friendly bicycles can be optimized to increase its potential to mitigate climate change. Okay, so we will have manufacturers of bamboo bikes and bamboo growers who will discuss the benefits of this new technology and how it can contribute to our country's pursuit towards green economy. So talagang exciting, no, Marie?
Yeah, I like the bamboo bikes. They look so nice.
Yes, and we'll hear more about that later.
Yeah.
Maybe how will our program go?
Well, are you done with the welcome remarks?
Well, siguro yun. I'm sure you all miss David. Well, he can't be here with us. Medyo may accident lang nangyari. He was bitten by a bee. So he had to be rushed to the hospital.
Yeah, he's in hospital. He's allergic to bee sting, it turns out.
Yes. So take care. We hope you're getting better, David.
And then our opening remark speaker is not feeling well. It's under the weather. So okay, but we'll manage. We have an exciting discussion ahead of us. So today we are departing from our usual format of listening to all the speakers' presentations first, and before opening the floor to questions. That's how we used to do it, right? But because we only have 3 speakers today, DNR opted out, and one of them has to leave early, we will take questions after each speaker this time around. We have enough time. So I think you have some guidelines for the participants, Tessa?
Right. Okay. So we will ask all participants to please put on mute your microphones. This is to avoid distracting ambient noise. This is only during the webinar, except when we go to the question and answer portion, where participants are welcome to speak and ask questions. Okay. Meantime, you can use the chat box for comments, reactions, or messages.
Okay, salamat Tessa, that's all. With that, we're ready to introduce our first speaker. He is a director of Out Mobility PH, an organization that advocates for better mobility and transport policies in the Philippines. He co leads national engagement and represents the organization in national government agencies, Congress, technical working groups, and is a regular resource for Philippine media on transportation issues. Friends, let's give a warm welcome to Ira Cruz. Ira, good afternoon.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon.
Yeah,
How
hi.
are you? How are you? I hope David is doing well. Of course, I'd like to thank David for inviting me to
Yeah, he
share
was the
our
one who
views.
invited you, right?
That's right. That's right. So let me share my screen. 4 years after the pandemic, I still haven't figured this. I still haven't quite figured this out. Okay. I hope that's working.
Yes, that we can
Okay.
see it.
Excellent. Okay, I hope you're not seeing my notes. Okay, great. Sige. Okay, so a little bit about ourselves first. So, Outmobility is an organization composed of transport practitioners and volunteers from various sectors. Now, mobility is very important in the life of cities. As we all know, all of us need to go somewhere, and we dedicate our work to ensuring that mobility of people is promoted. Advanced plugging. We are on social media, and you may follow us at Outmobility PH on almost all social media channels. We started our life very briefly in 2019. This is sampling of our work over the years, starting from 2019, where we filed the Commuter Bill of Rights in both houses of Congress. We are also we also participate as a member of technical working groups and as a technical resource for national government offices, such as the Department of Transportation. We are also a member of the Interagency Technical Working Group for Active Transportation, chaired by the Department of Health, and counts the Department of Transportation, Department of Public Works and Highways, and other national government agencies as a member. We also attend MMDA hearings and other local government hearings. We also work together with the Philippine Congress, helping brief congressional offices, and also as a resource during congressional hearings and technical working groups. On top of that, we make sure that we are able to attend public consultations and hearings to be able to share our expertise. We are also a regular resource of international and local media, which is very important because we want to be able to weigh in on critical transportation issues and also find a way to update the conversation and also try to influence the conversations that have something to do with critical transportation issues. Okay, we also produce papers and studies. This here's a sampling of what we've done over the years, from working together with the Department of Health to coming up with a community playbook, to coming up with studies like bikenomics, which I will be sharing with you later on. We also work with local government units, as I mentioned, providing capacity building workshops. And so we've worked with Metro Cebu, Metro Naga, and we've also come up with a mobility handbook with the municipalities of San Mateo and the municipalities of Panglao and Bohol. Our work in the Philippines has also allowed us to work with other Asian countries in the hopes of inspiring better mobility practices with our neighboring Asian countries and also learning from their experience. So we've done a smart mobility workshop in Tagaytay with Indonesia, Philippines, Taiwan, and Thailand. We've also done a ride shop in Bangkok with the same countries as participants. And we've also done work with the municipality of San Mateo and the municipality of Panglao to give them their own respective capacities in planning their transportation plans. We also did a mobility workshop with the Regency of Trenggalek in Indonesia. Okay, so essentially, what we want to be able to do is help the government focus on the following. Well, number one, changing their mindset to be able to promote mobility for everybody, and that's by having progressive solutions to also promote active transportation and mass road-based public transportation. Also promote decentralization to allow local government units to take action, as well as creating inclusive processes to make sure that all road users and all the welfare of all road users are considered. So this is what's going on in our cities. This is the state of our urban mobility. One, we all know we have a very poor state of public transportation. It's very difficult to rely on jeepneys or buses. Uh, we have a gross misallocation of urban space. As you can see in the illustration that I'm sharing here, this is in Commonwealth, where we've allocated almost 6 lanes to modes of transportation that only accommodate one to two persons, and only allocating 3 lanes to modes of transportation that carry more than 40 passengers. So 88% of people in Metro Manila rely on public transportation, yet on a sampling of road space like this, they're only allocated 3 lanes. And so we also deal with outdated policies such as number coding, viewing EDSA as a highway, and the creation of pedestrian footbridges that account for why mobility in Metro Manila is super impaired. Okay, so and here's a sample of that. No? I want to be able to show to you a sample of how car-centric policies affect uh, mobility of people. So this is the EDSA busway, and as you can see, if they allow people to cross from the EDSA busway to Mega Mall, that's just 22 meters. However, because people are made to go up because of car-centric policies, this actually results to almost half a kilometer walk for people that really contribute to why public transportation that contribute to the very poor state of public transportation. So imagine from 22 meters, you're making people walk half a kilometer. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so one of the reasons, and that's actually one of the reasons why I turned to cycling as my main mode of transportation. Primarily because it's very difficult to rely on public transportation, but also because cycling and because of that, cycling, on the other hand, offers me a more predictable commute, not to mention cheap, because we don't have to pay for fares. And I am not alone. It doesn't show. Okay. And I am sorry for the illustration. That's just the logo of the Mobility Awards. No? And I am not alone because according to the Mobility Awards 2023 bilang bisikleta, there's a minimum of 7,000 bikers on EDSA. This is a study done in 2023 where they counted the number of bikers on 5 key points along EDSA. So that's in Mandaluyong, Quezon City, and San Juan over a 4-hour period. And I would like to let you absorb that. That's a minimum of 7,000 bikers on EDSA on a daily basis. And I wanted you to remember that number because there's a very huge difference between the numbers presented by the Mobility Awards and the numbers being presented by MMDA to justify their policy recommendations. That in fact, in an April 2024 article of Rappler, MMDA's own traffic engineering center head, Ms. Naomi Resho, admitted that the low number that MMDA uses to justify the recommendation is incomplete or partial and was only done on 1 key point along EDSA versus the 5 key points as being counted by the Mobility Awards. And in a related finding, it was also reported that during the day that they chose to count was when there was a typhoon or a storm happening. So unfortunately, this number, while it's at 7,000, has also gone down over the years. Not because of lack of want, but because of the government's own failure to maintain bike infrastructure and the failure to enforce and continuing hostile policies. Therefore, this should only be a baseline, meaning the counts from here on out should just be seen to go up, taking into consideration that the president has committed to promoting active transportation as a form of transportation. Unfortunately, our lives as bike commuters remain to be very difficult, if not risky. And I'm going to show you a statement. We'll take, for instance, the following statements from MMDA's own acting chairman, Artes, that very clearly departs from the president's pronouncements and against the mandate of a national government agency that has been mandated to promote transportation. That's the Department of Transportation.
Imagine mo kung papasok ka sa trabaho, hindi ka naman pwedeng pumasok ng pasa or amoy pawis. Sorry pero 'di ba? Yun po yung reality 'di ba? Factor 'yan. More than yung sinasabi na hindi safe or hindi kasi dedicated yung lane.
Ang dapat gawin, yung mas efficient modes of transportation, ang
Ay, silipin yung tagiliran ng kotse. Gas-gas.
Mga bikes, pantas ang mga bikes, sa parado ng isang lane, pantas ang mga bikes, sa magkabila, hindi nyo naman inaral, ang daming mga tindahan ng sasakyan doon, ang daming parkings doon, na doon lumanagas at pumapasok. Gusto niya magsara ng isang lane. Kaya yung post namin yan, kulang nga ang kalsada. Tapos i-argue niya sa amin na car-centric kami. Hindi. Dahil
So of course, those are very sad statements coming from the MMDA acting chairman, in the sense that he's simply whittling down the reason for people not biking because it's hot. Well, I am a bike commuter and I bike to my meetings on a daily basis, but also on the latter video, where he shows that he's prioritizing the welfare of the luxury car shops in EDSA over the welfare of a minimum of, as I've mentioned, 7,000 bikers on EDSA on a daily basis.
Imagine mo kung papasok ka sa trabaho. Hindi ka
Okay, so traveling around the city should be safe and should not result in risking our lives. However, regressive policies, just like what you've seen, and regressive points of view and hostile policies actually put us at a risk every day. And I'm going to show you a clip of my own experience biking in BGC.
So it's
Ako lang yung tao, wala. Medyo sa Alabang, alas 4, so medyo mahaba-haba pa yung hintayin ko.
And then you've got these things that feel like they own the road just because they've got... Wow! How disrespectful!
Okay, so really traveling around our city.
So it's another working day for me, kaya samahan niyo ako.
So really traveling around our cities shouldn't be a life-threatening activity. It should allow us to travel safely across our cities. Okay, so as I mentioned, there are a lot of benefits to myself as a biker. I get to work on time. I can predictably. I can travel predictably. I'll be able to know exactly when I'll be able to arrive. I don't have to spend a lot of money. And as a bonus, I get to see friends more and actually have a physical activity. That's why in 2019, in 2022 rather, what we did was we created a study called Bikenomics, where we attached monetary values to these anecdotal benefits of biking. That, for instance, if you are if you choose to bike rather than own a car, you actually stand to save over 260,000 pesos annually. And that's from savings from car maintenance, payment for parking, payment for gas, etc., etc. We also look at business, and for business, you actually stand to gain 25% more business or more revenue by investing in bike parking or converting your outdoor dining or your parking slot into customer dining areas. In Metro Manila, for instance, Metro Manila commuters spend 188 hours in traffic per year, costing the city about 26 billion. Of course, JICA has a very popular number at 3.5 billion pesos a day. And lastly, the government also stands to save from the construction of bike lanes. For every kilometer of car lane, we can actually construct 9.7 kilometers of bike lanes. In each kilometer of bike lane can actually save us as much as 26 billion pesos. So when we talk to government and government says that there is no budget, it really isn't because there's no budget. It's because of sheer misallocation of budget. And the way we see it, the government's strongest way of declaration of their priority is budget allocation. So government officials need to retire outdated thinking and really opt for progressive policies. So there's a way out. There's a way forward to all of these issues that I've enumerated. However, they really need to depart from outdated thinking. And I'm going to show to you a guide issued by the Department of Interior and Local Government that specifically says that the practice of urban planning is only limited to engineers. However, we've seen that over the years, engineers have created such a hostile environment for all of us that only promote the use of cars as a mode of transportation, um, which is contained in a book, no, by a very famous by a very famous influential New York-based architect, Jared Walker, where it says that actually the last thing we need is for another close and revered priesthood or engineering, enforcing a uniform dogma like the 20th century highway engineers, who did much to make life impossible without a car. And I'm sure you can all relate to that, that it's very difficult for us to get around the city without a car. And so we need to be able to change that mindset and be able to change government policy. And of course, as we can see, we've topped all of the surveys in terms of the difficulty of getting around. We've got articles that say that Metro Manila motorists spend nearly 5 days in traffic. We've also topped the TomTom survey for the most congested. So it's really time for progressive policies that not just focus on traffic, but really promoting the mobility of all. And these are a sampling of those policies that really make it difficult for people to live without a car. Threatening to remove bike lanes, banning e-bikes, countering national policy, and releasing information such as that they're only releasing, I guess, incomplete data, such as, claiming that there are only 1,500 cyclists in EDSA when there are in fact more than 7,000 on a daily basis. Because if you look at the study done in Amsterdam, it really shows that if you design cities for cars, it fails for everyone, including the drivers. But if you design a city that is multimodal, it actually works for everyone, including drivers. Which is why in a Waze study, it actually shows that Amsterdam, being the best country to bike, is also the best country to drive. Okay? And so we really need a real traffic summit in order to change the mindset and really put forward progressive policies. For national government agencies, of course, our recommendation is they should align their mandates. There are multiple national government agencies that have impact on mobility. And unfortunately, their mandates conflict each other. There needs to be a comprehensive plan that would really sort out the plan of government to improve our transportation and our mobility. And regional bodies, such as the MMDA, should really align with national government agency mandates and also that of the president in terms of his pronouncement to promote active transportation. For the Philippine Congress, we are been working on a Philippine Bicycle Act, so we're really calling for Congress to really move this bill forward as it sets the tone. And it's one of the first steps by which we can make sure that we have the proper policies that support active transportation. And of course, for local government units to maximize their autonomy, as we've seen in the cities of Quezon City and Valenzuela, where they're really able to use their autonomy to promote and improve mobility amongst their constituents. So there, that's I hope that helps start off a conversation with all of you. I would also like to share a link, Linktree, our Linktree link, where you can see the resources, all of the resources that I've mentioned today. They're free to download and free for you to read, and we hope you'll learn and be able to find it very useful. Thank you very much.
Yes, nako, thank you, Ira. Oh, that's something, no? We're learning something new. Like maybe later during the question and answer, like what is active mobility? Those are new words that we hear
Sure.
now. But thanks a lot. That was a good presentation. And
Thank you.
at this time, we will be having the question and answer portion. So if you would want to ask any question or share a comment, you may either raise your hand and we will call you to verbalize it, or you can post your question or comment on the chat box and we will read it for you. So please unmute
I'll,
your microphone.
I'll start with your question. So when we say active transportation, it refers to modes of transportation that require human power only. So this includes walking and cycling and even e-mobility, such as e-bikes and e-sheds.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Are there any questions? We are going to take the questions now. I don't see any hands yet.
yes, just if you want to ask anything, just state your name, organization, school, or location, and then you can state your question. Maybe ako na lang, I'll start.
You always do anyway.
Yeah, kasi right now, talagang our bike lanes, motorcycle lanes, mga cars and trucks, they're all in one area. Is that healthy? Parang, or should we have a real dedicated lane for bikes that go through mga parks and what do you think of that idea, Ira?
Okay, I think we should start off with very important principles. Number one, we have very limited city space. It's no different from our own household budgets. We need to know how to budget that properly so that we can extend it. So if you look at budget, you need to make sure that you're spending your money on things that on things that benefit or things that deliver the most benefit or serve the most need. If you look at our cities, 88% of people take public transportation and active transportation, which means that only 12% of people in Metro Manila actually own cars. However, if you look at our streets, we are not allocating street space equitably. So again, going back to the budget, we are spending 88% of our space, our very limited space, for the benefit of the 12% of people. So that's a very that's a misallocation. However, it would be very difficult for people taking cars to depart from using cars if there is no alternative for them. However, and that's where the promotion of public transportation and active transportation comes in. You need to be able to create a proposition where people can say, "Look, I can opt to take the bus. I can opt to take the jeep, or I can opt to bike and leave my car behind." Because taking a bike or taking a jeep are more efficient modes of transportation. Again, for the same space that a bus occupies, that's about 40 people. Side by side, that's only 3 cars. And so for the same amount of space, you're actually transporting 40 to 60 people versus 3 people in a car. So that's an illustration of how much we're wasting our space. However, so it's very important now to be able to promote active transportation and public transportation as the superior mode of transportation. And the only way to do that is to be able to give them, number one, protected infrastructure so that it's safe for people to bike. Number two, we need to be able to create an infrastructure and a policy where taking the public transportation is more superior to taking cars. Now, if you're going to talk about allocating space, then it just goes to show that if you follow the principles that I've mentioned, that national roads should be actually allocated for the benefit of the majority that are in public transportation and active transportation. Meaning that you should be giving the most direct routes to active transportation and public transportation, which is exactly what they did in Amsterdam. The most direct routes were given to more efficient modes of transportation. And because it became more efficient to use these modes of transportation, people started using their cars much less, which at the end of the day became also promoted car use because now you have less people riding cars. So I hope that kind of answers your question in the sense that we can only promote or we can only remove people from using cars, which is also a polluter, by promoting other modes of transportation. And we can really only do that if we just really prioritize the welfare of those in public transportation and in active transportation over the welfare of those in cars.
Okay. Talagang, yeah, siguro yung mga kotse ang ilihis, no, and make longer routes for them instead.
That's very true.
Yeah, the direct links,
I
shorter
can see
and
Yes.
two raised
And if you
hands,
look at
Tessa.
and if we look at the experience of Amsterdam, that's precisely what they did. And so again, going back to the survey, in a waste survey, the best place to bike also happens to be the best place to drive, and that's how we should be able to design our cities.
okay. Marie, you were saying?
Yeah, I can see two raised hands. One from Carmen Alviar and
Yeah.
another from Anja.
Okay, let's have Carmen.
Yeah, thank you, thank
Hi,
you.
Carmen.
Okay, hello. I like your idea, promoting this new way of moving from one place to another. But I think we have to emphasize discipline among these motorcycle and bike drivers. As a driver, no, I have bad experiences with them. They would just, making U-turn, they would not even mind if they will hit you. That's why one time I was so angry. I was telling that angkas, sorry angkas, hoy, sabi ko, huwag kang sasakay dyan, pa-insure ka dapat ha, kailangan insured ka, kundi deadbolt ka. Yan. Well, they do not have discipline. So I like your idea, but how can we promote this with discipline? Thank you and congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Sige. Okay, first of all, it's not just my idea. I don't want to lay claim to this. This is the things that I've laid down here, no, as a proposal. Is a work of best practices and studies that's being implemented across the world. So, in a lot of cities across the world, especially during the pandemic, a lot of cities and a lot of governments have actually started thinking differently about how their cities are designed and who it's literally serving. No, so what I would have loved it to have been my idea. It's actually something that I'm sharing with you as a result of best practices best practices and the way that things are being done, or the new way of doing things across the world. Number two, uh, infrastructure dictates behavior, which means that the way that we design our roads dictate the way that that dictate the way that people behave when they are on the road. So, for instance, if you have a very wide road, this actually encourages drivers to drive faster. Number two, if you don't allocate proper space for bicycles and a separate lane for motorcycles, then it's going to be very difficult for us for them to understand how they will behave on the road. Uh, and so while we hear this quite often, uh, that cars complain about the behavior of motorcycles, in the same breath, they will refuse to give an exclusive lane to motorcycles. So this really goes back, no? If you don't allocate a lane for them, then where will they go? Which is why they behave the way they do, which goes back to how infrastructure really dictates behavior. Um, and I guess the third part is that um, there is you know driving or car speed is a major contributing factor to the severity of road crashes. So it's not really about the speed at which cars go. In fact, we should control the speed at which cars go, because it actually contributes or is a huge contributing factor to the severity. So while I understand where you're coming from by saying that you find it, I guess, motorcycles a bit of a nuisance, we should also think about whether there is infrastructure, in fact, that is given to them. And if there's none, then we should elevate this discussion to talking about making sure that there's proper infrastructure and policies that also favor them. Because just like cars, people in motorcycles are also car users and have as much rights on the road.
Right. We really have to improve our infrastructure.
It has to be more inclusive. There has to be a space for everybody. If you look at guidebooks, there's a concept called complete street, complete streets, whereas you design the road so that there is allocated space for all modes of transportation, from walking to cycling to public transportation, to public transport and to private transportation.
Yeah. Here's a comment from Vicky Segovia. I really agree with our speaker. I have just come back from Canada and I really envy their biking lanes in almost all parts of their country. And they are very safe, separated um, from the main roads by a grassy or tree-lined column. It really encourages bikers and favor low-income groups. Our government needs to look into these bike-friendly countries. Okay, and
You know,
Amsterdam.
Tessa, Tessa, that's correct, no. I see where Victoria's coming from. But if I may give us, I guess, a ray of hope. Number one, as I've shared with you, in our work with other Asian countries, we've actually found out that among our Asian neighbors, the Philippines is advanced when it comes to introducing bike infrastructure. It's a huge surprise. But if you look at our cities, we're actually pretty advanced. Okay, I'm not saying that we should rest our laurels. The standards are very low. But be that as it may, we're actually more advanced than our Asian neighbors. Number two, we can actually start turning to local government units. If you look at Quezon City, if you look at Commonwealth, if you look at Katipunan Avenue, and you will see that they have very good class two protected bike lanes, and very soon, at the elliptical road, Quezon City will be introducing perhaps the country's first class one bike lanes. And by class one, these are raised bike lanes, the same level as the sidewalks that actually provide the most protection out of all the designs of bike infrastructure. So I do agree with you, Victoria, that there's a lot that we have a ways to go. But I guess if I may provide a silver lining, versus our Asian neighbors, we're actually doing pretty well. And we do have very progressive cities like Quezon City that is starting to provide very good bike infrastructure.
All
Well,
right.
it's good to hear.
Who else was raising their hand?
See, ESI, Anja Paule.
Hi, Anja.
Hello po. Good afternoon. I
Good
have just
afternoon.
two questions because number one, in line with the Safe Spaces Act, kasi nakita ko dun sa isa sa vision ng organization nyo is giving people inclusive and safe space, no? So while scrolling down sa media, I saw really girls and women complaining on how they weren't safe sa public transportation, especially sa bike lanes kasi dahil daw dun sa quote-unquote na suot nila na these are protective from them para sa bikes, no? So, number one na question ko in terms of Safe Spaces Act is how would the government provide safe spaces for women and girls in terms of the bike lanes or the bicycle mobility? And ano po yung ginagawa or ano po yung pinuput forward ng organization ninyo in giving women and girls safe spaces po in terms of urban transportation and especially in bike mobility? And number two, since we are talking about urban transportation, there are schools na super car-centric. And syempre po, it impacts the traffic and therefore nagiging congested sa isang road. I would like to ask if ano po ba yung dapat ginagawa ng schools and LGUs when it comes to this issues and concerns about urban transportation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anja. Okay, first of all, yes, I've heard the same story from friends, from girl friends that are girls, complaining about how while they bike, not only do they get mansplained by other bikers, they also receive I guess disrespect from other road users though. And so yes, the Safe Spaces Act is very important. And one of the things that we've done in Out Mobility is that we created a resource called Batas Bicicleta. Batas Bicicleta is a collection of existing laws that apply to bikers. And that includes being catcalled or being harassed on the road. So if you go to the link that I shared earlier, you can actually download a copy of that. No, and I can type it again
In the
in
chat.
the chat box in case you didn't get to catch it. You can go to this link and you can download a copy of that. What that does is that it's a compilation of a lot of the rights of bikers have on the road, so that they can seek redress for it. No, and we launched this a couple of months ago in cooperation with the Rappler. We had a conversation with the Philippine National Police Chief of Highway Patrol Group. Um, and then we've also raised concerns to make sure that there is a proper desk for people to be able to go to. So number one is we hope that the guide serves as a guide, or as at least as a resource of information, so that as bikers you understand your rights. And number two, we're coordinating very closely with the PNP to make sure that police stations are also aware of these rights. And in fact, we are just waiting for the schedule of the chief PNP and the chief highway patrol group, because we will be turning over poster versions of this Patas Bicicleta to make sure that our rights, bikers and road users, are prominently displayed in police stations. Number two, you're right. So it's so timely because I just actually tweeted about this just a few hours ago, where I'm talking about how we should promote walkability around schools. Because if you look at especially private schools, the areas surrounding private schools are very congested, because one student equals one car. And that's pretty much like a microcosm of our society in general, where one person going to work is equal to one car also. And it goes back to the lack of option. If you are a parent, you're not really given any other choice but to personally bring your children to school. And so there really needs to be a redesign of our cities such that it's inclusive and it's safe for everybody to use. So when you look at our roads, they're super wide, which means that it's very dangerous and it's very scary for anyone of any ability to cross. No? And so we should really redesign our cities. In fact, in cities like Japan, there are districts in Japan that design their cities around schools. Meaning when they do urban planning, they put their schools at the center to make sure that this is the easiest and most and the most accessible uh, point of interest. No? So actually tweeted about that today. I'm really excited because Senator Angara, the new Secretary of Education, like my tweet. I don't know how far that goes, but hopefully we can see and design safer and more accessible and more pedestrian-friendly environment, especially for all our learners.
Okay.
Okay, Tess, we don't have time anymore.
Yeah,
So
just one comment from Maravilla. I
think she's also raising her hand.
Oh,
Maravilla
okay.
is
Yeah. Last question.
okay.
Hi, Maravilla.
Hello,
Hi.
sir. Thank you so much for this topic. Actually, I am avid fan of bicycling. Just
Thank you.
like Ma'am Segovia here, I also love to bike in Canada, no? As I do my strolling also. Anyway, my concern, sir, is ito kasi sa city natin, sa Metro Manila, aside from very congested na, it is also enormously polluted, di po ba? Sana along with this move na ginagawa nyo po ay yung to lessen ba the pollution. Kasi once na ma-implement ito, I'll be the first one to use my bike na going around Metro Manila. So, ang concern ko lang po talaga dito yung pollution. Kasi lalo na yung mga at risk ng mga asthma, mga may heart problem, ganyan. And bicycling would also help yung mga heart problem. So sana kung fully ma-implement ito or unti-unti ay ma-mitigate din natin yung pollution sa city. Thank you po, yun lang po, sir.
Of course. In a study released by, and you will also find this in our Bikenomics paper, which you can download, it really shows that cycling benefits non-communicable diseases, no? Like
Yes.
heart attacks and so
Oo.
on. And of course, as Dr. Dance added, during the pandemic, not only was cycling good for preventing non-communicable diseases, but it's actually preventing communicable diseases such as the
Yes.
spread of
True.
COVID or flus in close and congested forms of transportation, or like particularly or processing. There are also studies that show that in fact the effects of pollution on the road is worse off than those on those that are in cars than those that are on bicycles, no? Primarily because while we're all exposed on the road, cyclists spend much less time on the road because we get to our destinations faster. Whereas those that are in cars are actually stewing in pollution in their own cars. You know, of course, the air that comes from aircon comes from outside and it goes inside your cars. And because you're spending more time on the road than cyclists, you're actually exposed to it much longer. And of course, the only way for us to be able to improve, I guess, our air quality and reduce pollution is to really reduce the use of private vehicles. Because it's actually in the study, in a lot of studies, it really shows that transportation accounts for majority of greenhouse gas emissions in our cities. And that's of course represented by vehicles, and most especially private vehicles.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You know
You're
what?
welcome.
We have used up our time for this portion. I would say though that if we have time at the end, we can take more questions.
Of
Okay.
course. Thank you so much. I'm going to post my social media links also in the chat box. If you have more questions, you can reach me on Facebook, Twitter, or
Oh, that's
Instagram.
great.
I'm happy
That's
to
nice.
and I'm happy to continue our conversation.
Wonderful.
But thank you so much for giving me an opportunity.
And thank you for
All
coming.
right, thank you, Ira. Ira Cruz, Director of Alt Mobility PH. Okay, so we've seen how important bicycles and the potential it has, no, to mitigate climate